how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Staying put, not making sense. Yeah, I've been living in the previous tense. Why won't you help me move on? I can't look, can't make amends. Yeah, it's so sad we're not even friends, but we've been going so long. Give me back the conversation. I'm sorry I lost my patience. No, I just can't catch a break. Yeah, I'm always late, yeah, still always waiting. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Kicking it in my banana pants, having fun hitting that bananagram. I love just wasting my time. Wasting my time. Oh my gosh. Hating it, checking my Instagram. No, it won't turn me to a better man. I know it's killing my vibe. Who am I to you? My words just seem inefficient. I'm scared of the recognition. I'm sorry, it's you I'm missing. To tell the truth, I can make it different. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Suddenly I can see the world as it's supposed to be, and the pain inside my heart has left my chest. Honestly, we can be anyone we wanna be, and the world can put our worry down to rest. But I can't find another broken light to bright my life up. I can't hold another broken soul to know it's over. No, it's not over.
You are so cool.
Yeah. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Kicking my banana pants. Forget myself when I go round. Who am I to you? I lost my feet, said I love you. Maybe I do. Too bad that dreams don't just come true.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, thanks for that really late notice. Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Hey everybody. Normally I give Matt a countdown where I'm like 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and this time I was like, oh, go. Anyway, hey everybody.
First and foremost, allow me to thank Justin for the Kava that I am drinking on today's episode.
And allow me to take this moment to thank Kroger for this delicious, purified drinking water that I drink on this episode. Bulavanaka.
Bulavanaka. We have a jam-packed episode.
This episode this is going to be a long and thick episode.
Yes.
Girthy.
This is a very girthy episode.
This episode is girthy.
Yes.
I don't want to say this episode is ribbed, but it might be ribbed. And it might undulate a little.
It may be ribbed for all of your pleasures.
For everyone's pleasure. It might be ribbed for everyone's pleasure. Of course, this episode is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Dad Bod calendar. Be sure to buy one of those. $12. Includes shipping. Mostly nude libertarian men, including me. You definitely want one. $12. LibertarianDadBod.com. It's also brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing Waffle House caucus in the Libertarian Party. We now have buttons. $2 for tiny buttons and $5 for big buttons.
We do now have buttons.
We have buttons.
We do.
You can get some buttons. Just let me know you want some buttons, and I will send you some buttons, Matt.
Yep. Do you remember the prices on the buttons? Because that was my favorite part of watching you do math last week.
$2 for the small buttons, $5 for the large buttons, and then we have discounts. And if you're interested in finding out about that, ask me, and I'll find out what I did.
We really, really need an assistant as I'm sitting here trying to share to all the different groups, starting it because...
Oh, we need an assistant. We've needed an assistant. We're doing the best we can. This is an episode of Spike and Matt trying their best. This is what we could call this show, Matt and Spike are really trying guys.
Yeah, we are doing our absolute best to give you the quality content programming that you have grown accustomed to over the last 3+ years.
Also, I'd like to give a condolences to Alec Janikevsky, who is apparently stroking out in the comments. I'm not sure what. I don't know what's going on there, but we wish you well. Thoughts and prayers to you and yours.
We hope you're doing better, Alec.
Yeah, we hope you're doing better than you were 3 minutes ago.
Right.
Hopefully that passed.
If anybody out there would like an internship with Muddied Waters Media, as our Steven, that's actually the title.
That's what your title will be. You will be the Steven.
You'll be the Steven,
Muddy Waters
and
Media.
you just send us a message, PM us a message, and we will definitely get back to you.
Oh, and by the way, serious condolences to my friend Matthew on the loss of his brother. His brother died last night from what we believe is a overdose of fentanyl that was in a dose of something that he had bought. And anyone who watches this show, you've heard us say many times all the reasons why the war on drugs needs to end. This is a perfect example. When something is prohibited, it creates a black market. Unsavory providers fill that need. The price goes up, which creates incentivization for them to provide either a bad product for cheaper or a more powerful product for the same price. It also incentivizes them to tend to sell the more powerful drugs because you're going to go to jail either way if you get caught with it. So why bother making this much money selling weed and risking jail time when you can make this much money selling heroin or fentanyl or meth or whatever else and risking roughly the same amount of jail time? So the war on drugs is a terrible thing. This is just one of many reasons why. But it just really hits close to home as to why this is bad. And so I'm calling for everyone to unify, Muddy Waters is calling for everyone to unify to finally end this drug war and refuse to support candidates or, politicians or public officials or whomever else that will not take a stand for ending the entire war on drugs. Not just medical marijuana, not just, mushrooms, the entire thing, ending the entire war on drugs. It's built on faulty premises. It was intended to be a tool to use against marginalized communities, the poor, people of color, things like that. groups of people like that, and that's all it has been successful in doing. It has not made us safer. It has not made us more drug-free. It has simply made everything worse. And so we are calling for everyone to end, to come together to end the war on drugs.
How many candidates are there that are against ending the war on drugs for all?
You mean for president?
Yeah.
I don't know of any in the Republican or Democrat side. There are some that are in favor of making weed legal, or, recreational weed. I believe Yang is in favor of decriminalizing penalties, but still keeping them legal, or illegal, which would be somewhat of a step in the right direction. On the Democrat side, quite a few of them have signed on to marijuana legalization, but that would also mean heavy taxation and regulation, which means we're still going to have a black market for weed. But it's a step in the right direction.
It is cheaper to buy weed in states where it's legal from your dealer than it is to buy it from the pot shop.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close. Between the taxes they add and all the licensing fees that the dispensaries have to pay, which they then pass on to you as the consumer, because it turns out the consumer pays all taxes. That's another subject. Between all of that, you end up paying, like, someone showed where they bought like 3 ounces of weed and spent like $800, or no, they bought not even, I think it was just over an ounce of weed, and they spent $400 and something in Illinois. Like, it was absurd. But so outside of the Libertarian and possibly the Green Party, I don't know of any candidates. I know Vermin Supreme definitely is. Jacob Hornberger is in favor of ending the drug war. I believe Mark Whitney is. I don't know that for certain. Dan Berman absolutely is. Pretty much all the Libertarian candidates at least want to greatly deregulate it, if not completely legalize it, with the exception of Lincoln Chafee, who's cool on weed and not much else.
Right.
So Joe Jorgensen would rather talk about the income tax.
True.
So I honestly don't know what her position is. I assume that she's probably more on the legalized side, but I don't know that for certain. So
let's give a quick shout out to Kingsley over on Float.
Oh, yeah.
Float.app, flote.app. Float.app. You can find us at float.app/muddiedwatersmedia. And really, it's just going to be a better visual experience and audio experience for everybody out there. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope.
If you watch us on any of the other things, that video gets compressed. So it still looks okay on Facebook. It looks best of the other ones. It looks best on YouTube, but it looks okay on Periscope. It looks okay on Facebook. It looks, pretty decent on YouTube. It's an uncompressed, what's called an RTMP feed straight into Float. It's not even comparable. It is so much better. The interface is better, and it's just a better experience. And you can give us crypto. If you have any crypto, you can give us crypto.
That's
or you can give us regular money too. Or you don't even have to give us money, but you should.
We would appreciate it.
We'd like your money if you want to give us something.
You know who else is asking for money?
Who? Oh gosh, yeah. Speaking of wanting money under somewhat odd pretext.
Yeah. A growing number of white women are paying to confront their privilege and racism at dinners that cost $2,500. $2,500 American dollars. I just want to point out that Kingsley just sent us $2 in crypto over on Float. You can be like Kingsley.
Be like Kingsley.
Be like Kingsley.
Hashtag be like Kingsley. Go on over to Float and give us a minimum of $2. Right. I mean, we'll take anything, but
I think that somebody out there can beat Kingsley.
Are you the one? Are you the one to show Kingsley on his own platform that you can give even more than him? I bet you are.
I think you are.
No way. Actually, I bet you aren't. You can't prove me wrong.
Man, we got to get through all of this in 35 minutes.
So this is called the Race to Dinner. You know more about this than me, Matt. Tell us about it.
Right. So a white woman, pictured here, blurred out, volunteers to host a dinner in her home for 7 other white women, often strangers, maybe acquaintances, Each dinner costs $2,500, which can be covered by a generous host or divided among guests. A frank discussion is led by co-founders Regina Jackson, who's on the right there, and Saira Rao. Saira Rao, who identifies as Indian American. They started Race to Dinner to challenge white liberal women to accept their racism, however subconscious. If you did this in a conference room, they'd leave, Rao says. But wealthy white women have been taught never to leave the dinner table.
Wait, identifies as Indian American? Is there is she a trans Indian, or is she? I mean, she looks like an Indian American. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm wondering if she's like half Indian and half Canadian or something, and she's like, "Oh, I'm choosing Indian." Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what. I mean,
she could have just said, "I'm Indian."
Mm-hmm.
I identify as Indian seems like an odd flex, but what do I know? I haven't been to one of these dinners, so I haven't. I maybe need to check my privilege on that. So this is fun. Here's the thing. Here's a test as to whether or not you're a racist. If you spend $2,500 to have a stranger tell you whether or not you're a racist, you're probably a racist. You're
probably racist.
That's really the shortest racism quiz on earth. Question 1. Have you ever spent $2,500 to have a black person tell you if you're racist? Yes. You're racist. So that's fun. Yeah. Speaking of ridiculous, absurd pageantry with no real purpose, Donald Trump, Matt, expected to be acquitted on Wednesday. This is Mitch McConnell, picture there being an actual human turtle, is the head of the Senate, and the measure is going to include the measure to include witnesses failed with a 51-49 vote. So here, Matt and I thought that the Republicans would want this to drag on forever. And yet, no, Matt.
No. In fact, had it dragged on forever, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, I think that's it right now.
I think that's it now, yeah.
They would not have been able to go to Iowa for, well, we'll get into that. Don't worry about Iowa. Don't worry about Iowa. We're going to get into it. They wouldn't have been able to go there because they would have been stuck in D.C.
They would have been stuck in D.C. without even able to use their phone during working hours. I don't know why they passed up on this, but they did. And so we're expected that there's going to be an acquittal tomorrow, just after assuming Trump's State of the Union doesn't involve like him chewing on a baby or something. Assuming no like actual crimes against humanity being committed in person at the State of the Union, I'm thinking we're getting acquittal. What is your prediction for the final vote tally?
So much like most of the votes that happened, minus the one about witnesses, 53-47 is what the votes were for most of the votes that happened.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with it's going to be a party line vote.
That's because that's the breakdown of 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats, or 46 Democrats plus Bernie, who's an independent that's running as a Democrat. 47 Democrats, plus Angus King. Who's
actually, I think he's got to be a Democrat now to run as a Democrat. So I think
I don't know how that. Okay, so he's back with the party, and then there's Angus King, who's also a Democrat. Anyway, so it's 53-47. I'm actually thinking it's going to be 54-46 for acquittal. I think that Joe Manchin, the Democrat senator from West Virginia, I think he's going to vote to acquit.
And my only argument on that is possibly Mitt Romney.
Ooh.
Possibly Mitt Romney.
I mean, it wouldn't change anything, but ooh.
Right. It would still be 53-47. But I thought about that and I was like, well, if I'm going to put Manchin in the pro column, I'm going to put Mitt in the other one.
Well, that would be spicy. Well, then you know what? You might be right. You know, honestly, if whatever conditions...
Manchin would get invited to CPAC.
If for no other reason, he should do that. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's either going to be 53-47 or 54-46 or maybe 52-48 if the Dems hold strong and old Mitt does a Willard over there. That might happen. Either way, he's getting acquitted, and that'll be the end of that. And then we'll get to hear people go, "Oh my gosh, he wasn't arrested and thrown in prison by James Comey."
Nobody. Right, by nobody.
Yeah. So speaking of things that also are, if they do happen, would make people shriek, but they're not going to happen. Hillary Clinton, rumored to be running for vice president. Pictured there with her good friend Bernie Sanders. Matt, possible VP pick.
Possible VP pick. Now, according to an article from The Hill, Hillary Clinton, pictured there next to her very dear friend Bernie Sanders, former Secretary of State and the 21st century's most prolific murderer, maybe looking to try to get a VP slot. So that way she would still be the first woman something.
To do a thing.
Right. First woman to do a thing.
To do a thing.
Right.
That is interesting.
So she appeared at the Sundance Film Festival for the premiere of the documentary aptly titled Hillary, and has been hitting the interview circuit hard, taking shots at Bernie Sanders for not being likable, not being a team player, saying he has a pattern of being misogynistic, which I think, based on everything we know about Hillary, she was just describing herself.
I was going to say.
It is suspected she has been negotiating with Biden and Bloomberg about this position.
Oh, my Lord.
So this just in, Biden and Bloomberg are not thinking about committing suicide.
Ever. Immediately after being inaugurated.
Hillary Clinton, one heartbeat away from the presidency. As the president, I am probably the most terrified person alive all the time.
Yeah. That's scary.
I would get a food taster.
Now, I would say, as someone who's running for the same office, I would just like to say that I think the idea of either Biden or Bloomberg being the nominee with Hillary Clinton as the vice president will definitely help us in the general election. I would also like to say, as someone who might possibly be debating Hillary, if she runs for VP,
a statement that I made last night, and while I was doing these notes, was if somehow Hillary Clinton becomes the VP, and then Spike is on the debate stage
with Hillary
Clinton, I don't care if I never have children. That is God's gift to me.
That's the moment. And I'd also like to just take this moment to say, I also am not suicidal, have never thought of killing myself, and certainly will not kill myself with, 3 shots to the back of the head while hanging myself in Supermax for something I didn't do. So definitely not kind of scary. Ha 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 ha. Arkansas jokes are super funny until you're directly running against her. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, folks. Anyway, so
but if she does end up doing it, God, we get to hit Hillary Clinton on every episode of this show, and I am so excited.
Yeah, every episode, and I will be wearing body armor everywhere. I will be in there will be blast shields here.
The Pope Mobile.
I will be in a Pope Mobile, local Jew Mobile with a what's it called top, with an eggshell top that's bulletproof glass. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year. Really glad I'm doing all this now. So okay, speaking of which, and before we get into the big news, we're actually doing good on time. The other big deal that, speaking of my run for office, the Libertarian Party of Texas, like many state parties, Libertarian parties, is going to be hosting a debate for the different candidates. And you're probably thinking, that's great. What a good opportunity to hear from all the main candidates. Well, so the Libertarian Party of Texas chose to do something called Vote with Your Dollars, otherwise known as Pay to Play. Basically, the way they're doing this is from the 3rd to the 16th. They are encouraging people to make donations to the Libertarian Party of Texas in the names of the candidate that they want to be in the debate. There are roughly anywhere, depending on who you ask, between 9 and 11 or 12 active candidates, and then a few others that aren't all that active. But there are at least 8, 9, 10-ish serious active candidates for the spot of president. They're going to limit this to 4.
Wow.
And it's not based on number of donors. It's based on the top dollar figures. So if you were concerned that some folks in the Libertarian Party were just looking for the most milquetoast candidate to stroke a check for themselves, you have nothing to worry about, because this is literally exactly that.
Wow.
Remember how we were talking about how the Democratic Party was going to, change their rules somewhat to allow Michael Bloomberg in?
Which they did.
This is worse than that for 2 reasons. Number 1, Michael Bloomberg still had to register on some polls. And number 2, they don't claim to not be like that. The Libertarian Party positions themselves as a party that acts differently than the Republican and Democratic parties, that we aren't interested in just getting big name people who don't have our interests at heart. And so the Libertarian Party of Texas, to drive that home, has come up with the absolutely most craven way possible to pick the candidates that they want. Now, as someone who is on a very successful campaign, there's a good chance that Vermin will still be one of those 4 if he chooses to participate, which is something we're eyeing right now, whether we even want to participate in this or not. But this is a terrible, and I'm speaking as myself right now, this is an absolutely horrific way to pick candidates for a debate.
They're using this as a fundraiser for LP Texas.
Now, hold on. I know what that's about. There we go.
That's the thing.
That's the thing that's about to start shortly.
Right.
LP Texas is... So there's one other state, I want to say Illinois, that they're going to be doing a similar thing. But what they're doing is the amount of money that the candidates have raised. So they're looking at, I guess, FEC filings to see how much the candidates have raised. And I don't believe they're limiting it to 4. I think it's 6 or 7 or something like that. But again, it's how much the candidates have raised. It's not how much they've given that state party. And they were very obscure for the first 12 hours or so with how the rules were even going to be. We didn't know if it was number of people, if there was going to be a limit, how it was going to work. By the way, because there are limitations on what you can donate to a political party, unless it's yourself, this is a real I'm going to be careful what I say. What I'm going to say is this. I disagree respectfully with this decision.
We're hoping that respectful, right?
What's that?
I don't have to be respectful.
You do not have to be respectful. I have to be respectful.
This is one of the dumbest things that the Libertarian Party can do. This makes absolutely no sense. This is exactly what libertarians, because I am a member of the Libertarian Party. This is what libertarian.
The old switcheroo
got me.
It's the old
Georgia got me. Live in Florida. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party of Georgia.
They go, hey, you want to attend? Sure, that'll be $55. Okay, here you go. Aha, now you're a member.
You're a member. So as a member of the Libertarian Party, I can say these things.
That's true. You can say these things.
I can say whatever I want now.
Mm-hmm.
As a libertarian, we have always talked out against political parties doing things like this. And the Libertarian Party of Texas is like, oh, no, this is going to be a great way for us to get money. We get to knock out anybody out of the race that we don't want in the race. And we get to only allow in the people that we really want in. And my guess is the 4 people that are going to be on that stage are going to be Lincoln, I'm suddenly a libertarian Chafee. Joe Jorgensen, Dan Berman, who rightfully deserves to be there, and
He can afford it.
probably Kokesh. Those are the four that I'm guessing are going to be there.
We really don't
And
know. We really don't know.
that is not right.
It's everything we say we aren't. It's imagine a Democratic debate with the current field where the only people participating are Mike Bloomberg, Tom Steyer, Joe Biden, and probably some fourth billionaire who decides to jump in because he can afford to.
Wouldn't that be Bernie Sanders?
I guess it could be, but I don't think he'd spend that kind of money for a debate. But I mean, imagine a situation where it's literally no one that anyone actually wants, but they just have the biggest funds. It is everything that when people don't participate in politics, they say why. This is exactly that. It's a terrible, terrible idea. And I again, speaking as myself, I'm not speaking on behalf of the campaign. The campaign will be making an official response to how they want to participate or not participate in this pretty soon. Here's what I'm saying as an individual and as a member of the Libertarian Party. It would be a good idea to change this.
Quickly. They say that everything is bigger in Texas, and apparently the big old brass balls are bigger in Texas because you are getting ready to drive away everybody for that one. You are going to alienate the rest, every other candidate, every other delegate from anywhere else. You're driving them away with this decision.
You were telling, I'm going around knocking on doors in housing projects and telling them that we are the party of the disaffected and the disenfranchised, the people that are completely disillusioned with this process. And I get to go, and just to prove it, here's our next debate with a bunch of rich people that really don't reflect our values or anything I just said, but they have the most money. But we're totally different from the Democrats and the Republicans that way.
Totally different. Completely different from the other two major parties.
Yeah, no, this is a slap in the face to activists. It's a slap in the face to most libertarians don't have a lot of money. I got news for you. That whole, libertarians are a party of rich people that don't want to pay taxes. There's some of them too. But overall, the party skews middle to lower middle income. This is a slap in the face to the base of the party and to the base we're trying to grow of the party. Anyway, we have plenty of other things to talk about in 16 minutes, but
that's right.
That needed to be said, so it's now out on the internet. So speaking of absolute clusterfucks, the Iowa caucus. We have an Iowa caucus update brought to you by the Shadow app. Shadow, bringing you results at some point. Maybe they're not. We don't know. They're not sure. Shadow app.
I'm gonna do a real quick check to see if we got.
Do we have any updates on this? Because
the
last update was.
The last update is so good it made me happy. Okay, so let's go out to Des Moines.
Is that how we're doing this? We're gonna use Anyway, go ahead.
So yesterday, Iowa caucused, as we all know. I don't even know if caucused is a word. I just really liked it, so I put it in there.
By the way, this is an epitome of what the Democratic Party is going through right now. A bunch of white people who are just really just done. They're just done. Brought to you by Shadow. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Right, no, you're fine. Iowa caucused have the prestigious honor of being the first state to mess up the opportunity to choose the Republican and Democratic nominees for president, and they came through in style.
They nailed it.
As somebody who lives in Florida, wasn't living here in 2000. Thank you for taking the hanging Chad off of us.
Oh my gosh. This makes the hanging Chad
has now gone.
Look like a misunderstanding.
Right. Whew, you guys screwed up digitally.
This was just... We still don't know. This is...
It's 24 hours.
No
clue.
In the 18th century... In the 18th century, when they first started doing stuff like this, they would have already known by now with horse-drawn carriages. They would have figured out who was their nominee. But no, thanks to the Shadow app, we have no idea.
No clue who
But
won.
we do know it's looking like what we thought might happen. if Bernie was actually winning. Matt,
Right.
sorry, go ahead.
So at 8:30 yesterday, many of us sat down and got ready to watch the results of the Iowa caucuses. And Spike and I thought about doing a live show for it, and God, I'm glad
I'm
we
so
did
glad
not.
we didn't. What a terrible episode that would have been.
Woo, that would have been one boring. That would you would just watch Spike and me make fun of each other for 5 hours.
Each other in
4
Iowa.
when we got cut off from everything.
Yep. Yep.
By 9 o'clock, it was obviously there's a bit of an issue, but you held out hope that maybe by the end of the night things would start rolling in.
They figure it out. Have some glitches with the app or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Around 10 o'clock, that's when things started getting interesting. By 10 o'clock, the Iowa DP, which is all I'm calling them now, announced that they were having some issues and they needed to do some authenticating
of the Shadow app.
Of the Shadow app. Immediately on Twitter, conspiracy theories start rolling in, suggesting that Iowa was trying to once again steal Iowa from Bernie. And I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. I can't tell them they're wrong.
Especially not now.
Right. Bernie had done some internal polling, and those were showing that he was definitely in the lead. And he didn't understand why they weren't announcing anything.
Yeah. And lots of, and again, anecdotes are what they are, but there were multiple anecdotes from multiple of the major precincts saying that Bernie was clearing away, walking away with it, that there were no Biden supporters. There were no Yang support, or very few Yang supporters. There were a handful of Warren supporters. Bernie was walking away with the plurality and sometimes even the majority of caucusers in these caucuses.
Yep.
Matt?
By 11 o'clock, the Republicans who were using paper and pen wrapped up their caucuses. And Donald Trump obviously won.
Right.
Beating out Bill Weld and Joe Walsh. But he brought in more than 30,000 votes, which is more than any incumbent ever.
And they were able to handle that with Sharpies.
Right. They did that with Sharpies.
Brought to you by Shadow and Sharpie.
Right. By 11:30, the Iowa double penetration said that they weren't going to be announcing anything until today. At 12:30, when it was pretty much all done for the day, that was when I got really giddy. Real quick shout out, hi to all the people from Geico in San Diego who are watching.
Shout out to Geico and them.
Save
50% or more on your car insurance by switching to Geico.
Pete Buttigieg at 12:30 last night gives a speech declaring that he is the winner, even though nothing has been reported and nothing has been released.
There'd be no legitimate reason for him to think that.
Taking it from internal polling. God, I wish I had grabbed this tweet for the notes, but Marianne Williamson tweeted, how is he claiming victory? Nothing's been released yet. Marianne Williamson went after Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, and she's going hard today. In a healthy democracy, Tom Perez, the head of the DP, would resign today. As it is, the results will probably never be fully determined. The DNC attitude will be they'll get over it, and the entire incident will hang like a cloud of uncertainty over the entire campaign, making it all about the app as a red herring. Marianne was coming in hot.
Real quick, before we go into the app stuff,
yeah,
Iowa will probably lose first in the nation next year.
Oh, they need to. They need to.
They will probably lose this.
There's no way that they'll be able to keep it after this.
No.
I can't. No. Well, we say that, and yet, I mean, the last one was decided with a coin toss,
which went to Amy Klobuchar, and that is actually in the bylaws that it goes that way. So I'm not too far off on that one. Like somebody won a Virginia house race by a coin toss once. Like I've seen that happen. So it's not really that big. Hillary Clinton won by a coin toss.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, well, Amy Klobuchar won by a coin toss yesterday. She beat Warren.
Oh, well, that's funny.
So, like, that is not something that is that uncommon, especially there, especially because of the weird way that they do it.
It's just insane.
So overnight, 8 minutes. Okay. So overnight, they started blaming the app, the now we know Shadow app.
Yeah.
The Shadow app for what had happened. Now, the app was funded in parts by Joe Biden, former candidate Kristen Gillibrand,
Oh, God.
separate state Democratic parties, and largely by Pete Buttigieg, who paid $42,500 for software rights and subscriptions, meaning he gets all the info. He gets all the info and he owns it. And built by Clinton campaign vets Gerard Nimira and Krista Davis. And Shadow is attached to progressive nonprofit Acronym, which was founded by former Barack Obama campaign staffer and journalist Tara McGowan.
So in completely unrelated news, just before 5 p.m. Eastern, today time, the Iowa DP released their partial results, whatever the hell that means. And
it's 62%.
62%.
62%.
So these partial results, surprise, surprise, Pete Buttigieg, out of nowhere, 27%, Bernie Sanders with a respectable 25%, Liz Warren 18%, Joe Biden 16%.
95% in.
Yeah, that says 95% in. But too early to call.
Too early to call. Bernie Sanders is actually leading in votes, but he is behind in delegates.
Not pictured here, Amy Klobuchar, 13%. This is...
Iowa has screwed up so badly. And it is an app that Pete Buttigieg funded. That, according to
Pete, winner of the Iowa caucuses, after a 24-hour delay in results, Buttigieg.
That Alec in the comments said the company was created a week before Pete announced. This app is doing the primary voting and caucus voting for like 4 other states.
Guys, this is not a mistake. This is, we do not want Bernie Sanders. We'll go with Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is a boomer stereotype of what gay people should be like.
Yep.
Which is why I think they're going to make him, he's like the Gay-Durin candidate. Or Gay-Churian candidate.
Gay-Churian.
He's like, something really bad is happening here. This is not just the app screwed up. The app screwed up is why you didn't get instant results. The app screwed up is not why it took almost 24 hours for them to go, hey, you know the person that didn't have a shot in hell of winning? Yeah, he won. Oh, and who anecdotally wasn't even registering in exit polls? Wasn't there an exit poll that had Bernie at like 40% or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And I don't know if that was the exit poll. Like
we don't like Bernie. This is not a pro-Bernie program here. But really?
Yeah, and the fact that it's been 24 hours, it's been over 24 hours since their polls closed. And they still haven't announced who's won. This is not.
No, this is
I mean, I'm certain that the Shadow app has a lot to do with it, but this is not completely the Shadow app.
no, no, no,
This
no,
is
no, no.
this is the Iowa double penetration.
Yeah, this is the Iowa DP.
This is the Iowa DP.
It's like Pete Buttigieg likes to say. What was it we said? He said something about this isn't the first time he's been helped by the DP.
Right. This isn't the first time I've been helped by the DP. Because if it turned out, oh yeah, also because he said he got it from a tip.
He got a tip from the DP.
He got a tip from the DP, and
these are the kind of jokes you can expect if they push this guy through.
Please,
America.
God, push this guy through. And if he ever
Holy
says anything
hell.
like that, I'm gonna vote for him no matter what.
If Pete Buttigieg said the DP pulled it out for me, this I have to strongly. I mean, that's a solid joke. If he could say that with a straight face, that changes the entire political calculus. All right, so the State of the Union's about to happen shortly, so let's get out ahead of it. He's actually walking down the aisle. Trump's going to stand out in front of the people who impeached him and talk about what is happening. We're going to see if he's going to talk about the impeachment and the impending acquittal. Can't wait to see what he's going to say. AOC will not be there.
Yeah, she is boycotting the event. What he is going to be talking about that we know about is immigration reform, abortion, school choice, and probably the terrorists that he killed.
Oh, good. All right, so now they're doing why is it acting funny? Oh, they got Rush Limbaugh there.
Rush Limbaugh is going to be getting a Medal of Honor, but not today. He's just going to be announcing it today.
Oh, okay. All right, let me turn this on and see. There we go. So that's... Oh, he's still coming in. No? There's... No.
Madam Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
No, they're doing a cabinet.
cabinet.
So I know that he brought multiple guests with him. So I know Rush Limbaugh is one of the guests. He also brought a young lady who was born at 21 weeks because I know he's getting ready to say something about abortion.
Right.
I'm not sure school choice. I'm a big fan of school choice, but I don't know if I want the federal government in charge of that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of homeschooling and charter and like private schooling. I'm not sure how big of a fan I am of the government getting involved in private schooling.
No, me neither.
Hampion says he can't watch. It violates his parole.
Studio 8424. Glad to see you joined us. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us. Are you the one to beat King in the donation race?
Yeah, Studio 8424.
$2.01. Going once.
$2.01. That's all you need to beat Kingsley. But he's going to be talking about immigration reform, which I'm going to guess does not include open borders.
I will assume not.
I will assume not. Maybe he'll talk about the wall that fell down.
Because the wind. Because who could have ever expected wind in the desert?
Yeah, who would have thought wind would be a thing coming across the desert?
In the desert. And then another part of the wall, the floodwaters are so high that they have to just leave the bottom of it open for months at a time, unattended. That'll stop them.
Yeah. And with everything going on, with Iowa, with the impeachment, with the upcoming acquittal of the impeachment, which we've been calling from day one. Literally, like, seriously, if you guys want to know what's happening, just watch the show. You're going to know what's going to happen 6 months from now.
Because we're not trying to feed you a fake narrative. Like, we'll just tell you what's obvious to happen. I mean, before I was even on this show, this show, were saying Donald Trump's going to get impeached for something, and then he's going to get acquitted for it. Yep. Like, possibly before the inauguration, we were saying this. Like, this is, show started on impeachment.
What? Yeah, it wasn't much before the inauguration because the show started only about a month and a half before the inauguration.
Right.
But yeah, we were saying they're going to try to find, like, if the Democrats take control of the House, they're going to try to find a way to impeach him. And then
Right.
if the Republicans have control of the Senate, he's going to get acquitted. If they don't have control of the Senate, he's probably going to get kicked out. And our accuracy is freaking scary. If CNBC or MSNBC, Fox, CNN, if any of these guys were as accurate as this show is, nobody would watch them.
If they were calling it that far ahead of time, people would be like, "This is fake news. This is stupid. I want my side to win." No, you're right. They get Pulitzers, and no one would watch them.
Right. There are bets on whether or not he is going to talk about impeachment.
I can't see how he won't.
But I don't think he will.
Really?
I don't think he will, because
he loves spiking the ball, though.
He does love spiking the ball. But I don't see him actually doing it. Man, he's going to do a 5-minute walk up.
This is like some of the boxing people that do this like long, drawn out. They dance to the music,
right?
Prince Nassim.
He's going to shake every hand all the way down, and this is going to be the longest walk to the podium ever. Because screw you for impeaching me. You are going to sit here and you are going to like it.
Here we go. They're announcing him now.
Yeah. We could start doing bets on how long this is going to take.
Oh, man. At least, I don't know. He's kind of moving faster than I thought he would. I think this is going to take at least 2 minutes.
So he is going faster than last year.
Yeah. I thought he was going to milk it, but he's decided not to milk it. But he is shaking all the hands. But this is common, right? Like this is his thing. Someone tried to fist bump him, and he completely ignored it. So they bumped him on the shoulder.
I think that's called punching.
They're like, well, screw you then.
I'm just going to punch the president.
I'm going to punch the president in the shoulder. You know what? That's actually kind of cooler than fist bumping the president.
I hit the president.
I punched the president in front of everyone. But not hard. Just make it a point. You don't want to fist bump me? Boom. Right in the kisser. There's Mike Lee, noted libertarian.
Man, he is doing it much faster this time.
Yeah, there's
is that the guy who is presiding over? Was that Roberts?
Yes, that was Roberts. Yeah. And now
the guy who made Rand Paul leave Senate chambers angrily because he wouldn't read his question.
Rand Paul. Oh, man. Everyone press F for Rand Paul, huh? Gosh. Like, really? Goodness.
Much faster than last year.
That was
not bad.
It was not even 2 minutes.
Yeah, good for him.
Here's what I'm about to say. Is she gonna do the clapping thing? That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna turn it up so there's Rush. I'm gonna turn it up so people can hear him because we don't have caption. No. Are people booing him? I can't tell if they're booing or going like, woo, but just suck at it.
Members of Congress, the President of the United States.
That had to hurt for her to say.
I don't think anything hurts her. Alex says Rand Paul debunks white nationalist claims of IQ being inherited. Chanting 4 more years.
Yeah, 4 more years chant.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh no.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States.
Yeah, please sound quiet.
Oh,
This is what we're applauding.
I love everybody.
This is such a weird pageantry.
And my fellow citizens, 3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback. Tonight, I stand before you to share the incredible results. Jobs are booming, incomes are soaring, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, confidence is surging, and our country is thriving and highly respected again.
We're going to talk about the deficit.
Yeah, I was going to say no mention about the deficit, the 1
No
trillion plus,
deficit or budget.
or that he's spending more money than Barack Obama in his first term. No mention of that, oddly.
Yeah, weird.
America's enemies are on the run. America's fortunes are on the rise, and America's future is blazing bright. The years of economic decay are over.
I wish I had gotten like one of those charts to show that like what he's describing is like this very flat line of growth that is overmatched by inflation that's been going on for like 20 years.
Used, taken advantage of, and even scorned by other nations are long behind us.
Saudi Arabia unavailable for comment.
On to the broken promises, jobless recoveries, tired platitudes, and constant excuses for the depletion of American wealth, power, and prestige. In just 3 short years, we have shattered the mentality of American decline, and we have rejected the downsizing of Americans' destiny. We have totally rejected the downsizing. We're moving forward at a pace that was unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back.
We're never going back because economic cycles don't exist.
Right.
This guy is super happy. Her not so much.
She hasn't had a good year.
Nancy's like looking through
report
the
to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been. Our military is completely rebuilt, with its power being unmatched anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. Our borders are secure. Our families are flourishing. Our values are renewed.
We don't have
Our
a
pride is restored. And for all of these reasons, I say to the people of our great country and to the members of Congress, the state of our union is stronger than ever before.
So this is the strategy that they have for this election cycle, is to pretend everything is perfect.
They're going to try to do the Reagan thing. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
But like on a completely different level, like everything is fixed. There are no challenges. We've simply fixed everything.
The vision I will lay out this evening demonstrates how we are building the world's most prosperous and inclusive society, one where every citizen can join in America's unparalleled success, and where every community can take part in America's extraordinary rise. From the instant I took office, I moved rapidly to revive the U.S. economy, slashing a record number of job-killing regulations, enacting historic and record-setting tax cuts, and fighting for fair and reciprocal trade agreements.
So just to let you know, the USMCA that they just passed is basically NATO again. It's just a repackaged NATO. There's no substantive difference
Our agenda is
at all.
relentlessly pro-worker,
And our trade is
pro-family,
the same with China that it was
and
before,
most of
with a
all,
couple of minor sides that
pro-American.
mostly hurt American farmers. This guy's got money in his pocket. What is with the guy with the money in his pocket? They're going to show him again. They're going to have to show this guy
See the
again.
money in his pocket.
He's got like
we are
20s in his
advancing
pocket.
unbridled optimism and lifting our citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed very, very high. Since my election, we have created 7 million new jobs, 5 million more than government experts projected during the previous administration.
Do you think he's going to mention the fact that, like, Nigerians can't come here anymore? That there's, like, 6 more
No.
countries that...
I think he has a signal for when
The
to
unemployment
applaud.
rate is the
For what?
For when to applaud.
Something.
And very incredibly, the average unemployment rate under my administration is lower than any administration in the history of our country.
So, as we know, as we often heard from Republicans during the Obama years, but not so much during the Bush years, but we did hear it from Democrats and we're hearing it now again, the jobless numbers are a joke. They don't include people that have been unemployed for so long that they don't qualify for benefits anymore. It would be like counting the casualties from a boat wreck, shipwreck, without counting the ones who drowned.
This great economic success.
So this is a very interesting strategy. This strategy is everything is perfect in this country. We have fixed everything in 4 years, and presumably anyone who says otherwise is, fake news and a traitor and a liar.
For African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history.
As someone who's possibly going to be running against him and Mike Pence directly, I'm very excited that this is their strategy, because his strategy is don't believe your lying eyes, listen to me. And it will be very easy to talk to people and say, yeah, that's not true.
An all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded. The unemployment rate for women reached the lowest level in almost 70 years, and last year women filled 72% of all new jobs added.
That's because, 72% means that an increasing number of American households require the woman to be working too. That's not 52%, that's 72%. That's not a good metric. That means the man's income wasn't enough anymore.
Yep.
Which is also why there's more jobs, because there's more people having to get jobs because the cost of living continues to
unemployment rate for
skyrocket.
disabled Americans has reached an all-time low.
He's just going to, for the next couple of minutes...
They're doing everything like the unemployment rate for Cambodian women who live in the western hemisphere, west of the Mississippi, is at an all-time
High
low.
school diploma have achieved the lowest unemployment rate
this is what we're doing.
recorded in
I
U.S.
wonder how
history.
hard it is for Nancy Pelosi to defend.
See, if I were her, I wouldn't do this. She has every reason to act like her base would love if she just rolled her eyes and acted like, this whole thing is pathetic the whole time.
Employed. Under the last administration, more than 10 million people were added to the food stamp rolls. Under my administration, 7 million Americans have come off food stamps and 10 million people have been lifted off of welfare.
That's actually not true, but okay. That's actually, I just was finished reading an article about it. It's really, really terrible math that they use for that. It's not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, That's the beauty of the numbers, is you can make them say pretty much whatever you want.
This is they say there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, and government is great at statistics.
Over 300,000 working age people dropped out of the workforce. In just 3 years of my administration, 3.5 million people, working age people, have joined the workforce.
Again, this is, as he said, 72%. This is women. This is second income earners being required in a record high number of households because the cost of living and stagnant wages means that now both people in the household have to be working.
Increased by 47%, 3 times faster than the increase for the top 1%. After decades of flat and falling incomes, wages are rising fast, and wonderfully, they are rising fastest for low-income workers who have seen a 16% pay increase since my election.
Adjusted for inflation, that's a loss. Like, if you're a low-income American out there in the comments, be sure to sound off on if you were doing 16% better since 2017. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Real median household income is now at the highest level ever recorded.
As is inflation, which is completely outstripped it.
So is inflation, which is a dumpster fire.
Right.
70%, adding more than $12 trillion to our nation's wealth, transcending anything anyone believed was possible. This is a record. It is something that every country in the world is looking up to. They admire.
So again, with these massive deficits and with negative interest rates from the Federal Reserve, what's going to happen is when this bubble bursts, it is usually during what we're told is massive economic expansion. You don't see massive increases in the deficit. The reason there are massive increases in the deficit is basically the Federal Reserve is pumping money at a negative interest rate to big banks who turn around and lend them to businesses. So this is a debt-driven economy. When it does bust, which it always does, this is going to be bigger than 2008. It's going to be comparable to the 1930s. It's going to be or the 1920s. It's going to be comparable to the Great Depression, because it is a bubble that usually they allow bubbles to burst by then. And they're not. They're just keep pumping more and more into it. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be Venezuela, Greece ugly. It's not going to be like modern American history ugly, post-war history ugly. It's going to be pre-war history ugly.
This is the first time that these deserving communities have seen anything like this. It's all working. Opportunity zones are helping Americans like Army veteran Tony Rankins from Cincinnati, Ohio. After struggling with drug addiction, Tony lost his job, his house, and his family. He was homeless. But then Tony found a construction company that invests in opportunity zones. He is now a top tradesman, drug-free, reunited with his family, and he is here tonight. Tony, keep up the great work, Tony.
Opportunity zones are a cronyist idea that the Republicans came up with about 10 years ago, where basically they create these temporary low tax zones and tax credit zones that large corporations are eligible to go into and do business in. They go in, they set up shop, they get more tax credits than what they're actually spending and investing, and once the tax credit expires or the sunset period for them to be required to do business there ends, they close up shop and go away. It is pure cronyism. And you as a taxpayer are paying for it.
Our roaring economy has, for the first time ever, given many former prisoners the ability to get a great job and a fresh start. This second chance at life is made possible because we passed landmark criminal justice reform into law. Everybody said that criminal justice reform couldn't be done, but I got it done, and the people in this room got it done.
Credit where credit's due. The criminal justice reform Yeah, the criminal justice reform that has been passed has been a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it could have been a lot bigger, but in terms of what you could have expected from these people, this is about as good as it could have been.
Right.
Thanks to our bold regulatory reduction campaign, the United States has become the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world, by far.
That happened under Obama, by the way.
It did.
Yeah, like halfway into his administration. Because of deregulation, but it happened under Obama.
We have made over the past 3 years, America is now energy independent, and energy jobs, like so many other elements of our country, are at a record high.
That was, again, under Obama that was achieved. Which, again, yes, deregulation means that can happen, but that is not. He's taking credit for something that happened about 4 years before he got inaugurated.
Would have thought possible just 3 years ago. Likewise, we are restoring our nation's manufacturing might, even though predictions were, as you all know, that this could never, ever be done. After losing 60,000 factories under the previous 2 administrations, America has now gained 12,000 new factories under my administration, with thousands upon thousands of plants and factories being planned or being built.
Matt Hicks says, I'll credit Trump for this. He's the most limber and flexible president we've ever had. How else could he give himself a knobby?
Companies are not leaving. They are coming back to the USA.
They're still net
The
outsourcing.
fact is that everybody wants to be where the action is, and the United States of America is indeed the place where the action is.
China's economy is growing 3 times as fast as ours.
That's because of
One of the biggest promises I
corporatism.
made to the American
Yeah.
people
Yeah. What little growth is actually happening is because of debt spending, which is also why it's happening in China too. But the hottest economies are not in the U.S. They're in much more deregulated economies like communist China.
In fact, unfair trade is perhaps the single biggest reason that I decided to run for president. Following NAFTA's adoption, our nation lost 1 in 4 manufacturing
That's
jobs.
not true.
Many politicians came and went, pledging to change or replace NAFTA, only to do so, and then absolutely nothing happened. But unlike so many who came before me, I keep my promises. We did our job.
USMCA is almost verbatim NAFTA.
Almost verbatim NAFTA.
It's like not.
And
they literally just
I am-
rebranded it.
I'm pretty certain that wasn't what he came and ran on. He ran on something different.
He ran on getting rid of NAFTA, not replacing it with
And signed to bring the
NAFTA.
U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement into law. The USMCA will create nearly 100,000 new high-paying American auto jobs and massively boost exports for our farmers, ranchers, and factory workers.
Now that hasn't
Over on
actually
Globe,
happened.
Kingsley said Mr. and Mrs. Skeletor in the
It will
background.
also bring
Yeah, really.
trade with Mexico and Canada to a much higher level, but also to be a much greater degree of fairness and reciprocity. We will have that fairness and reciprocity.
Yeah. Here's the progressive argument about that we're hearing from Donald Trump about trade. Here's what's fair. I have a thing. You want the thing. We come to an agreement on how much it costs, and I sell you the thing. That's fair. What isn't fair is the government stepping in and saying, I want a piece of that, or I don't like that you're doing business with that person instead of this person. That's unfair. So the idea of fair trade with government involvement is a myth.
Days ago, we signed the groundbreaking new agreement with China that will defend our workers, protect our intellectual property, bring billions and billions of dollars into our treasury, and open vast new markets for products made and grown right here in the USA.
This is also another rebranding of an existing trade agreement. Like nothing is actually changing. And the core problem, which is that the government has priced out the cost of the American worker, even from domestic demand, that's the problem, not that China has a more competitive job market. and other sort of completely shutting them out from being able to compete here, which would hurt American consumers, there's not anything that's going to change it. So what they're going to do is continue to print out endless reams of Fed money until the bubble eventually bursts, and it's going to be super ugly, guys, because that's usually what they do. They usually open the Fed floodgates when the economy goes downhill.
Did you just see Nancy Pelosi like snap back to reality?
No, why? What happened?
She was sitting there just kind of staring down, and then all of a sudden shot up.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
As we restore American leadership throughout the world, we are once again standing up for freedom in our hemisphere.
Does anyone feel
That's
free
why
out
my
there?
administration reversed the failing policies of the previous administration on Cuba.
You are now free to not visit Cuba.
Or trade with Cuba.
Or trade with Cuba. Sounds awful free to me, right?
We are supporting the hopes of Cubans, Nicaraguans, and
Why not doing
Venezuelans
business with
to
them?
restore democracy. The United States is leading a 59-nation diplomatic coalition against the socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
If Nancy Pelosi's clapping, I don't have to tell you it's a bad idea, by the way, guys.
Maduro is an illegitimate ruler, a tyrant who brutalizes his people, but Maduro's grip on tyranny will be smashed and broken.
Man, that's what the
Here
Democrats
this
say about him.
evening, it's a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans.
Is he about to talk about the other socialists?
Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela,
No
Juan
way.
Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to you.
Look how everyone... Okay, here is perfect idea, a perfect example of American jingoism. Every single person in that room has taken off the facade of being against each other to stand for a socialist. John Guaido is a socialist. If he gets into office, he will be every bit as socialisty, every bit as much of a state socialist as Maduro. Look at this. Every single person in both sides of the aisle are clapping. This is American jingoism. This is everything we try to tell you. Oh, they're against each other and they're fighting in the Senate. BS. That's what it's about there.
They are absolutely, they are all on his side. And we are not fans of Maduro. We are not defending Maduro.
No. Maduro's terrible.
Just as bad.
This guy would be every bit as bad. The only difference between him and Maduro is he's not in power because he's not a Chavista, but he is every bit of a member of the Socialist International. He is every bit a member, a believer in the authoritarian policies. He's just from a different camp. That's it. This is Bolsheviks versus Mensheviks. This is not any real difference. And everyone in there claps.
But always remember, freedom unifies the soul.
I kind of wish I knew what came before that.
American liberty.
What's that?
I kind of wish I knew what came before that line.
Something, I'm sure it was equally cringy. They look really uncomfortable.
We have purchased the finest planes, missiles, rockets, ships, and every other form of military equipment.
Oh, gosh.
And it's all made right here in the USA.
This is some good old-fashioned Republican big government progressivism right here. We are going to spend trillions of dollars on failing weapon systems like the F-35, which has cost something like $1.75 trillion.
To help pay their fair share.
Government talking about paying fair share. This is, like, guys, I know we have some Liberty Republican listeners. You're not going to get liberty from these people.
Raised contributions from other NATO members by
You're going to get this. He's not pulling us out of NATO or out of the endless wars. He just wants them to pay more.
has more than doubled.
For our foreign policy, for our government's foreign policy, they want them to pay for it.
Truman established the Air Force more than 70 years earlier. We created a brand new branch of the United States Armed Forces. It's called the Space Force.
Oh, Lord.
Very important.
How much thought went into that? Seriously. Did they not think about that at all? They were just like, oh, we got this new one that we want to do. Crap, they're going to go into space.
And we're going to
We
rip
got
off
30
the
seconds.
Star Trek.
You're on your way out.
And they ripped off the Starfleet logo, too. Or the... oh, Lord. Is this some kid that wants to go kill aliens?
It's a redoing of the Air Force logo.
From Arizona. Ian, please stand up.
Oh, Lord.
Ian has always dreamed of going to space. He was the first in his class and among the youngest at an aviation academy.
Is massive jingoism. Our children will be going off to fight in space. This is right out of Space Troopers or whatever. Like, and you know what's sad, guys? 80% of the country is eating this up with a spoon, or 80% of voters. Half of voters have completely tuned out because they see this garbage for what it is. But 80% of voters are, there's a Democrat, look, all the Democrats, everyone's clapping. This kid's going to go murder people in space. Like, it's...
But sitting behind Ian tonight is his greatest hero of them all.
Oh, God.
Charles McGee was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1 century ago. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather.
Massive respect to AOC for not going to this.
For 100, he looks real good.
Oh, if I want to look like that at 60. Like, he's doing well. He's doing well. He'll do great in space because gravity's lower out there. And get around even better. Actually, I think that's bad for your body. He'll probably won't go out there. 100 years.
Incredible story. After more than 130 combat missions in World War II, he came back home to a country still struggling for civil rights and went on to serve America in Korea and Vietnam. On December 7th, Charles celebrated his 100th birthday.
Didn't he already say he was 100?
What's that?
Didn't he already say he was 100?
Well, he said 1 century ago.
Oh.
He real direct with the 100 for those of you going in the cheap seats who didn't know what a century was.
Oh, okay.
A few weeks ago,
What's a what?
promoting Charles McGee to Brigadier General, and earlier today, I pinned the stars on his shoulders in the Oval Office. General McGee, our nation salutes you. Thank you, sir.
Plot twist, they're sending him to Afghanistan.
From the Pilgrims to the founders, from the soldiers at Valley Forge to the marchers at Selma, and from President Lincoln to the Reverend Martin Luther King, Americans have always rejected limits on our children's future.
Really?
Members of Congress, we must never forget that the only victories that matter in Washington are victories that deliver for the American people.
That was pandering on the scale of Mike Bloomberg eating big gay ice cream.
These are instructive, guys. So for those of us who are libertarians and largely like withdraw from this stuff, it's instructive to watch this because this is what most voters are exposed to.
Yeah, this is people watch this and then they're like, oh, okay, things are great. We'll vote for that guy again.
Or they hear from the Democrats that, oh, this is terrible and everything will be great again like it was 3 years ago when it was completely different. It's like they're taught like, either everything is perfect or everything is terrible, and they're being spoon-fed this nonsense, this jingoistic garbage, and it's why half of voters don't vote, because they see this for what it is. They see it for total garbage, and you're not going to get solutions. You're not going to get... If you recognize that there is a problem where we don't have liberty and where we are being robbed to finance, the world to be, infringed upon, and our own rights to be infringed upon, and countless people to be put in cages for victimless crimes, no one in that building, maybe one or two people in that building, are someone you could trust to actually try to get that done. And they're completely outnumbered by this pandering nonsense that has nothing to do... No one standing gives a crap about this kid at all. This is literally pandering for votes. It is mind-boggling. But you have to watch this occasionally because...
What kid is this?
What's that?
His mom, Stephanie, is a single parent.
Is this the
She would do
21
anything to give her daughter a better
This is what?
the 21-week-year-old?
future. Was put further out of reach when Pennsylvania's governor vetoed legislation to expand school choice to 50,000 children. Janiyah and Stephanie are in the gallery. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here with your beautiful daughter. Thank you very much.
And now here's the flip side of this. Because she came to try to leverage her situation to try to push for more choices in her schooling, she is going to be destroyed for being involved with Trump. Even though ultimately it wouldn't be any different from her doing this for Obama or some other Democrat, but because it's a Republican, she's going to be utterly wrecked on Twitter and on social media for doing this.
Yep.
Even though she probably doesn't give a crap about politics, probably didn't vote for Trump, just wants better opportunities for her kids. So she comes here for a bunch of opportunists to clap, and applaud her, do nothing, and then turn around and half of that aisle bash her for wanting something for her kid. This is American politics, perfectly summed up. Politics in general.
Now I call on Congress to give 1 million American children the same opportunity Janiyah has just received. Pass the Education Freedom Scholarships and Opportunities Act, because no parent should be forced to send their child to a failing government school.
Nancy didn't
We're
like
giving
that.
taxpayer money to send children to private and charter schools with making them then government schools.
Making them government schools, because then they get subjected to the same standards under the No Child Left Behind Act.
Right.
So let's turn private schools into government schools slowly. Now, the one good thing is that they could shut down failing schools. So that would be at least one aspect of that would be better than government schooling. So it's marginally better. It is not what it's being touted as. It is a government takeover. It is a camel's nose under the tent beginning of foot in the door of nationalization of private schools.
Paisley on float says free ponies or bust.
It's free ponies. We have to get free ponies now. It's either free ponies or it's more of this. So I hope you like ponies. I might be debating Hillary.
I know, I can't wait.
Is determined to give our citizens the opportunities they need, regardless of age or background. Through our pledge to American workers, over 400 companies will also provide new jobs and education opportunities to almost 15 million Americans. My budget also contains an exciting vision for our nation's high schools. Tonight, I ask Congress to support our students and back my plan to offer vocational and technical education in every single high school in America.
That should definitely not be. I'm trying to get a number for what he's asking for in his budget.
Oh, it's going to be high.
To expand
I know,
equal
that's why I wanna
opportunity,
ask.
I am also proud that we achieved record and permanent funding for our nation's historically black colleges and universities. A good life for American families also requires the most affordable, innovative, and high-quality health care system on earth. Before I took office, health insurance premiums had more than doubled in just 5 years. I moved quickly to provide affordable alternatives. Our new plans are up to 60% less expensive and better.
So in typical government fashion, they won't just say what the budget amount is. You have to add it all
I've
up.
also made an ironclad pledge to American families. We will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
So, as a person with a pre-existing condition,
And we will always protect your Medicare, and
sorry,
we
go
will
ahead.
always protect your
As a person with a
Social
pre-existing
Security.
condition.
Always.
Here you just went. We're going to protect your welfare and your government health care because freedom and we're against
and he did
socialism.
run on ending the Obamacare.
American
Yeah,
patients
that didn't happen either. What was
That
your
didn't
question?
As a person with a pre-existing condition, what are your opinions on them saying that they're going to force insurance companies to not kick people off?
I think it prices a lot of people out of insurance. So when you say you can't kick people off of insurance and you can't price them based on their actual condition, you can only price them based on their age, you're spreading their costs out to everyone else in an already bloated government healthcare system. Because that's what we have. We have a government healthcare system. The U.S. government spends more dollars per American citizen than almost any other country on earth on healthcare, including Canada, including the UK. We have a government-run, managed, and mostly paid for healthcare system. So in that system, costs are through the roof. Innovation is somewhat good, but it's not increasing. It's pretty flat. And so what you have is a situation where costs keep going up and up and up and up, and so they just keep spreading the costs out and flatten them as much as possible so individual people aren't feeling these massive price increases, but everyone's feeling the price increases. And it's an absolutely terrible system. Like anything else, if you get government involved in something, you're going to make it cost a lot more and not be as good. The things that have the prices that rise the fastest: healthcare, schooling, housing, school books. That's another big one. The pricing has inflated. The more regulated, subsidized, and taxed a sector is, the faster its pricing goes up. If you compare it to things like furniture or consumer electronics, which are far less regulated, subsidized, and taxed, they've actually seen an inflation-adjusted drop in pricing. In fact, actually, with furniture, there's been an actual real drop in pricing.
Yeah, a massive drop for a lot of these things.
Yeah, so if you want healthcare to be affordable, if you want people like me with pre-existing conditions to be protected, get government out of it and let the market, an actual free market, not our disgusting hodgepodge of a system that Republicans like to call the free market, but an actual freed market, a market set free from subsidies, taxes, and regulations, do its thing. I think it will be a lot better.
American seniors, then stand with me and pass legislation to prohibit free government health care for illegal aliens.
Because that's the problem. Okay. Social Security. Trillions of dollars. Medicare, Medicaid, trillions of dollars. We're talking about, and first of all, most illegals in most states aren't eligible for anything anyway. We're talking about maybe $30 or $40 billion that gets shaved off of a multi-trillion. You're talking a rounding error difference. I'm fine for no free health care for illegals and legals and citizens.
We have now completed over 100 miles and have over 500 miles fully completed In a very short period of time, early next year, we will have substantially more than 500 miles completed. My administration is also taking on the big pharmaceutical companies. We have approved a record number of affordable generic drugs, and medicines are being approved by the FDA at a faster clip than ever before.
That's been a trend that's been going on for decades as more things get introduced. I mean, that's nothing new. Like, a lot of these statistics are just trends that have been going on for decades.
I was pleased to announce last year that for the first time in 51 years, the cost of prescription drugs actually went down.
No, it didn't. The amount of money that Americans spent on prescription drugs went down, and the biggest reason cited was that they couldn't afford it. Drug prices, and Obama did this same cynical garbage in 2012.
A lot of it, besides not being able to afford it, a lot of it is also people are being able to get marijuana, medical marijuana, and they're just getting regular, like they're just buying street weed.
Well, and that's
also. You're seeing an uptick in people using more holistic and Eastern medicine kind of things, and they're getting away from their pain pills. They're going to like your Kratums and your Kavas as opposed to taking your anti-anxieties and your pain medications.
Right.
You're seeing a lot more of that. So yeah, people are spending a lot less.
The price has not gone down. The price has skyrocketed. The amount being spent has gone down for a variety of reasons, most of which are economic. You also have the situation where they keep decreasing the amount of, what are these people doing?
Drug overdose deaths declined for the first time in nearly 30 years.
Again, the problem here is you have I have to talk about this. This is a perfect example of what we're talking about with statistics. In 2012, Barack Obama was lambasted by Republicans for claiming that Americans were spending less on health care. And he was right. They had spent less on health care in 2012 than 2011 because they couldn't afford it. And that was the biggest reason cited. Now, here we have Republicans, now that they're in charge, doing the exact same thing. And, of course, now Republicans aren't the least bit upset about it. And if you do catch them on it, they'll go, well, the Democrats did it too. Yeah, you suck as much as the Democrats do. And, of course, now the Democrats are very upset about this, even though they were the ones saying it before. If you want to get lied to, talk to Republicans and Democrats and the Libertarian Party of Texas.
The administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat. We have launched ambitious new initiatives to substantially improve care for Americans with kidney disease, Alzheimer's, and those struggling with mental health. And because Congress was so good as to fund my request, new cures for childhood cancer, and we will eradicate the AIDS epidemic in America by the end of this decade.
This has nothing to do with government.
All of this can be done without the help of government.
All of this is being done without the help. Like, if anything, government intrusions have kept the HIV and AIDS. They've hampered it.
Serious illness. Here tonight is a special man.
By the way, if you are, because again, we have a lot of Liberty Republicans that watch our show. If you are a believer that government makes things worse and not better, Donald Trump vociferously disagrees with you and has been saying so during this entire speech. That government is the answer. Government makes things better. Government spending is how things happen.
Thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country.
Over on Float, Aaron Nakamoto chimed in and said, "You my VPs." Like,
thank you. Aaron Nakamoto once gave me $5 to show my chest hair. So, putting that out there.
And Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
He's not looking good. All of this is being done without the help of government.
I like how he looks shocked, but I knew that was going to happen before this.
So you already knew this, right?
Yeah, I knew this.
So either they kept it from him, or this is just... If he knew this, then I just lost a lot of respect for this guy. Like, if he's milking this like this, I have to think this is wasn't told.
I don't think he knew. He probably didn't have his phone with him. Because I found out literally about 10 minutes before the show.
Okay, so they probably were keeping it from him. I hope so.
Because
If not,
that response was genuine.
I have to think so. What happened?
Oh wow,
doing
he's
it
getting
right
it now. I thought he was going to get it like next week. That's what I read. And I would much rather Melania give it to me.
I'd be like, wait a second. Why am I getting the wife doing it?
I would much rather Melania give it to me because I feel like Trump would like breathe heavily the entire time. Like not in a Joe Biden way, but just he would be
Joe
sitting
Biden,
there.
Congratulations on getting this medal. I'm so happy.
Eric Fontaine says my Vermin VP presidential pen is
Rush
worth more than
and Catherine,
that.
congratulations.
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you, Catherine. As we pray for all who are sick, we know that America is constantly achieving new medical breakthroughs. In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Born at just 21 weeks and 6 days and weighing less than a pound, Ellie Schneider was a born fighter. Through the skill of her doctors and the prayers of her parents, little Ellie kept on winning the battle of life. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
Fun fact about the former co-host of this show, he was also born roughly
What's
about
that? What's that?
The former co-host of this show, he was born roughly about that.
21 weeks?
He was like 25, 26. Yeah.
There's a big difference between 26 and 21. 21 is...
There is, but...
No, that's still a preemie, but I mean, man.
That's all massive preemie.
Yeah, I mean, those are... 20 anything is rough, but 21 is like freaking like...
21, yeah, 21 is... That's incredible.
To ensure that every baby has the best chance to thrive and grow just like Ellie. That is why I'm asking Congress to provide an additional $50 million to fund neonatal research for America's youngest patients.
Again, if you think government is not the answer, Donald Trump absolutely disagrees with you. Government is definitely the answer. You are going to be robbed to do stuff that will get Donald Trump and other Republicans elected, and Democrats will do the same. They're going to argue over how much and for what you should be robbed over.
Legislation finally banning the late-term abortion of babies.
Did he say they're going to ban it?
Yep. In honor of this woman who wanted to have her baby, we're going to make women who don't want to have their baby have their baby.
Whether we are Republican, Democrat,
And then we're going to spend a bunch of your money and rob you to pay for it.
We must all agree that every human life is a sacred gift from God. As we support America's moms and dads, I was recently proud to sign the law providing new parents in the federal workforce paid family leave, serving as a model for the rest of the country.
If Barack Obama had proposed universal paid...
Hang on.
family leave?
He just said for to use as a model for the rest of the country. What's the federal minimum wage?
$7.25.
Right. The rest of the people who are using that as the quote unquote model, most places pay a lot more than that starting at.
Of course.
They aren't looking to the federal government for the model to do anything. They're doing what is right and what is best for their businesses.
Yep.
To say that people are looking to the federal workforce as the model that they're supposed to be taking out, that they're supposed to be trying to emulate, is completely backwards.
It is everything that if you are a Republican, honestly, most Republicans used to bristle at this kind of talk until Donald Trump was elected. And now, the federal government under Trump is absolutely the model that the rest of us should follow. And they need to take however much money they need from me to pay for their government programs, you snowflake cuck. It is astounding to watch. If you can wrap your big government infringements in the flag and jingoism, then you can win as a Republican. If you wrap it in fairness and caring, then you can win as a Democrat. But it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It is, we like X, so we're going to make government rob you to pay for X.
I don't know what he just said, but the female Democrats
We must also
They were not
rebuild
happy.
America's infrastructure.
Roads. This is the Morodes Minute. I'm sure it's going to get applause from both sides. Yep, no, everyone's going to applaud this. You have to applaud Morodes. Yeah, everyone gets up. Everyone gets up and applauds Morodes. Stand for the roads. Look,
like 2 or 3 people plus the Women Coalition.
Highway bill to
Yep.
invest in new roads, bridges, and tunnels all across our land.
Morodes.
I'm also committed to ensuring that every citizen can have access to high-speed internet, including and especially in rural America.
You're going to force companies to go there so they can have access.
And everyone's applauding this. If you are even considering voting Republican or Democrat about that after this, I don't know what to tell you, guys. They are not fighting each other. This is what it's about. We're going to rob you to pay for stuff that we think would be a good idea, and we're going to provide it at a much more inflated cost and with far less value than simply allowing the market to do its thing. And everyone is going to applaud it. Oh, and also, we're going to overthrow another government and replace them with a socialist that likes us more.
Arrested more than 120,000 criminal aliens charged with nearly 10,000 burglaries, 5,000 sexual assaults, 45,000 violent assaults, and 2,000 murders. Tragically, there are many cities in America where radical politicians have chosen to provide sanctuary for these criminal, illegal aliens.
People here illegally are statistically about 30 to 40% less likely, depending on whose statistics you look at. But it's pretty much across the board. They're less likely to commit violent or theft crimes than natural raised American citizens. So if you actually want to restrict otherwise peaceful human interactions in order to potentially limit criminality, you would be far better off making it illegal for Americans to have children. That would actually greatly reduce murder compared to limiting people coming here without getting their government papers.
He was set free. If the city had honored ICE's detainer request, his victim would still be alive today.
Imagine him saying right now, if Judith had not been allowed to have her baby, he wouldn't have grown up to murder people. We must stop the birthing of criminals. That's literally what he's doing. He's using anecdotes to give an example of why an entire group of people should not be allowed to exist peacefully. This is no different than saying, if Bill and Jennifer had been stopped from having kids, then their kids wouldn't have grown up to be rapists and murderers. So no one should be able to have kids.
He viciously shot one man going about his daily work. He approached a woman sitting in her car and shot her in the arm. and in the chest. He walked
Anecdotal.
into a convenience
Yeah,
store.
no, this is all anecdote.
Anecdotal.
Again, pretend he's talking about someone who 2 Americans gave birth to and is about to explain why Americans should be allowed to give birth. Because there are certainly plenty of stories, horrible stories of Americans victimizing other people, victimizing other Americans. I mean, it's
Many are
terrible.
named Kyle.
Named Kyle. That is why we will not allow another Kyle to be born. Like literally, that is just pretend he's talking about that because he's just using an anecdotal example of an individual doing a terrible thing, and actually that group of people is statistically less likely to do than Americans, and using it as a reason to punish all of them.
One of his grieving brothers is here with us tonight. Jody, would you please stand? Jody, thank you.
It's terrible that Jody's family was killed by an American citizen, but I personally can't sign on to this idea of limiting American births. I don't think it's right to tell people they can't have kids.
Will not rest until you have justice. Senator Tom Tillis has introduced legislation to allow Americans like Jody to sue sanctuary cities and states when a loved one is hurt or killed.
That's going to
As
get
a
thrown
result,
out because they're not going to be considered party to a crime being committed unless they can show that there was an actual contribution to the act itself. All this stuff's going to get thrown out. This is try to get reelected by economically and socially illiterate boomers.
Be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens.
Did you see the jingoism? Here's some more of that. Law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens. Well, what about criminal Americans versus law-abiding aliens?
In the last 3 years, ICE has arrested over 5,000 wicked human traffickers, and I have signed 9 pieces of legislation.
Human traffickers, when he says that also includes businesses who have hired illegal immigrants. That's some trickery they use. They call them human traffickers now. So if you hire someone to mow your lawn and it turns out they're illegal and they arrest you for it, you're a human trafficker.
Before I came into office, if you showed up illegally on our southern border and were arrested, you were simply released and allowed into our country, never to be seen again. My administration
You're seen by the people who want to
catch
interact with you and
release.
do business with you. By the way, the way they ended catch and release is through a detainment program that costs on average $800 per detainee per day. It far outstrips the cost of, you could give them the most lavish welfare on earth, and it would cost maybe a tenth of what it's costing to, or a fifth of what it's costing to detain them. So if you, in case you were doing this supporting this for fiscally conservative reasons, it's costing way more. And it's also preventing them from joining the workforce because people that are here illegally have to use someone else's social security number, so they actually contribute to social security without ever being able to take out from it because they weren't using their own number. So you're actually taking out net taxpayers so that you're having to pay more, not just to offset their loss of tax revenue, but also to pay for them to be detained at your cost.
And as the wall rapidly goes up, drug seizures rise, and the border crossings are going down and going down very rapidly. Last year, I traveled to the border in Texas and met Chief Patrol Agent Raul Ortiz. Over the last 24 months, Agent Ortiz and his team have seized more than 200,000 pounds of poisonous narcotics, arrested more than 3,000.
Almost all of that, by the way, is marijuana, but anyway.
And rescued more than 2,000 migrants.
Poisonous narcotics that large pharmaceutical companies brand as pills to sell you legally, but it's poisonous if it's not being done by them. This makes me really look forward to debating Pence, by the way. This excites me to debate Pence.
A grateful nation thanks you and all of the heroes of Border Patrol and ICE. Thank you very much. Thank you. To build on these historic gains, we are working on legislation to replace our outdated and randomized immigration system with one based on merit welcoming those who follow the rules, contribute to our economy, support themselves financially, and uphold our values.
There was actually a study showing that merit-based immigration doesn't actually lead to lower uses of welfare because it's based largely on self-reporting from countries that don't actually have an ability to show. So if you self-report that you make a certain amount and you're in a country where it can be considered reasonable that you make that amount, they simply assume you're right. So what that leaves out is people in countries where they couldn't reasonably be expected to make that much. So it is a war against poor people trying to come here. So if you are a white person in this country, you more than likely are a descendant of someone on either on one of your parents' side, a descendant of someone who would not qualify under this.
This includes two brilliant new Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch.
Because more than likely, statistically, when your family came here, the U.S. either had completely unregulated migration with almost zero regulation, or it had very lightly regulated Ellis Island regulation. Again, you would not be here if these rules were in place.
And we have many in the pipeline. My administration is also defending religious liberty, and that includes the constitutional right to pray in public schools.
I have no issue with this. Like, if somebody wants to pray in school, I don't care.
There was no rule in place saying you couldn't pray.
It was just saying that they could not lead you in prayer.
It said they couldn't lead you in prayer, and his executive order didn't change that. Nope. He literally just wrote an order saying you can pray, to which the Department of Education said, okay, that was already allowed.
That is under siege all across our country. So long as I am president, I will always protect your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
Really?
That's a nice change from the last 3 years.
This is utter garbage.
He has done more to hinder your Second Amendment rights than
Barack Obama was a markedly better president, despite his rhetoric. Because again, he had to say, perfect example of lying politics. I don't give a shit what this guy has to say about guns. Perfect example. Barack Obama had to speak to his base about guns. Guns are bad and guns are dangerous, and people should. And yet, under his administration, there was actually a net relaxation of federal gun laws. Under President Trump, he has instead talked to his base of saying, well, guns are good and it's a God-given Second Amendment right. And then he has had a massive net increase in gun-related regulations. It's a lie. And he's pushed for more state regulations, too. He's pressured them to pass red flag laws, which are way worse than gun laws, because not only is it a gun law, it's a violation of your right to unreasonable search and seizure. The police can now just come to your house and say, even if it's a gun you're allowed to have, they can just come and go, oh, yeah, someone red flagged you. Give us all your weapons right now.
Your right to a fair trial.
Your right to a fair trial. You have no due process.
No due process.
Yep. They have fully harnessed the weasel wording of the habeas corpus clause, as Lysander Sooner would say.
Palestinians.
Because the Constitution is unfit to exist.
Attempts have failed. We must be determined and creative in order to stabilize the region and give millions of young people the chance to realize a better future. 3 years ago, the barbarians of ISIS held over 20,000 square miles of territory in Iraq and Syria. Today, the ISIS territorial caliphate has been 100% destroyed.
Can you imagine the terror groups that they're funding right now to do this? Because they once said this about Al-Qaeda and about other groups and about the Shia groups in Iraq, and it was they were using ISIS to take them out. So God knows what's going to be waiting for us in a couple of years. That was to replace ISIS. We won't know, because that's always something we find out however many years, 2 to 5 years later, but we'll find out.
Graduating from college, their beautiful daughter, Kava, became a humanitarian aid worker. She once wrote, "Some people find God in church, some people find God in nature, Some people find God in love. I find God in suffering. I've known for some time what my life's work is, using my hands as tools to relieve suffering. In 2013, while caring for suffering civilians in Syria, Kayla was kidnapped, tortured, and enslaved by ISIS and kept as a prisoner of al-Baghdadi himself. After more than 500 horrifying days of captivity, al-Baghdadi murdered young, beautiful Kayla. She was just 26 years old. On the night that U.S. Special Forces operations ended al-Baghdadi's miserable life, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, received a call in the Situation Room. He was told that the brave men of the elite Special Forces team that so perfectly carried out the operation had given their mission a name, Task Force 814. It was a reference to a special day, August 14th, Kayla's birthday. Carl and Marcia, America's warriors, never forgot Kayla, and neither will we. Thank you.
The government created the group that tortured and murdered her family and murdered her. Like, ISIS was a U.S. government creation, and it's now been replaced with God knows what we're about to find out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say 50% of the people in that room have already forgotten that name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, they care about this dead person even less than they care about the black kid with the school choice thing.
Men and women in uniform.
Because the kid might be able to vote one day.
Love that dwells in the human heart. One of these American heroes was Army Staff Sergeant Christopher Hake. On his second deployment to Iraq in 2008, Sergeant Hake wrote a letter to his one-year-old son, Gage. "I will be with you again," he wrote to Gage. "I will teach you to ride your first bike, build your first sandbox, watch you play sports, and see you have kids also. I love you, son. Take care of your mother. I am always with you, Daddy." On Easter Sunday of 2008, Chris was out on patrol in Baghdad when his Bradley fighting vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. That night, he made the ultimate sacrifice.
The bedrock principle of American politics is that the United States government can go anywhere on earth, whether you even agree with it or not, and kill as many people as they want, including civilians, and if anyone fights back, it is fundamentally unacceptable. Now, we'd never apply that to ourselves. If someone came here, invaded us, and tried to kill us, it would be not only fine for us to kill them, but we'd be fine with people going to wherever they came from and killing people there as well. But for us, and the people we know, they can go overseas, kill anybody. Anybody. They don't even have to call it an accident. They can call it collateral damage. They can kill farmers, children, school kids, people in hospitals. Doesn't matter. If anyone says, you know what, I don't want you to murder me, I'm going to fight back against you, we call them terrorists. I am sorry this woman lost her husband, and I'm sorry that this kid lost his dad. I wish he hadn't gone somewhere to kill people in their countries, because there are a lot of, they don't look maybe necessarily like them because they're not white, but they look a lot like them. A lot of mothers and sons who miss their fathers and miss some of their sons and some of their mothers too, because of U.S. military actions over there. And the idea that it is completely unacceptable for anyone to, fight back against that and not just lay there and wait to be murdered is ridiculous. And the amount of cognitive dissonance and jingoism required for someone to look at this situation and not see the obvious answer as us no longer murdering people overseas is just absurd. But yet, something like probably 85% of voters would be utterly horrified to hear what I have to say right now. Not that other half of people that don't vote, probably not. They're probably right in tune with me And they've stopped voting because when they say stuff like this, they're told that they're completely out of whack and complete radicals and hate America and whatever other stupid nonsense that they have to say, which is why it is incumbent upon us to tell the truth because it's unpopular, because people need to hear this. I want that kid and other kids like them to have their dad back because they didn't go overseas to murder people and get killed in the process in defense.
Their oppressive rulers.
And vote for me.
The Iranian regime must abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons, stop spreading terror, death, and destruction, and start working for the good of its own people. Because of our powerful sanctions, the Iranian economy is doing...
Was it this long last time?
Yeah, it's only been an hour.
It feels like forever.
Short time recovery. It can all go very quickly, but perhaps they are too proud or too foolish to ask for that help. We are here. Let's see which road they choose. It is totally up to them.
Is that about Iran?
As we defend American lives, we are working to end America's wars in the Middle East. In Afghanistan, the determination and valor
King
of our
said
warfighters
all of government should
has
join
allowed
the
us to
Space
make
Force and stay
tremendous
up there.
Progress in
Yeah.
peace talks are now underway.
Sarah Brandon over on
I am
YouTube said, I'm
not
still over
looking to
this
kill
emotional
hundreds
appeal
of
because-
thousands of people in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Many of them totally
I'm
innocent.
sorry, I couldn't hear
It
what
is
you just
also
said. Hold
not
on,
our
hold on.
function to serve
Go
other
ahead.
nations as
Sarah Brandon over
law
on YouTube
enforcement
said, I'm so
agents.
over this emotional appeal
These are
BS.
warfighters
Yeah.
that we
And
have
yeah,
best in the world,
because
and they either
you're-
want to fight to
that's all
win
he's doing. He's
or
just
not
appealing to
fight
the
at all.
emotion of
We are
people who
working
don't
to
see
finally end
that
America's
all of the
longest
issues
war
that we are over there, quote unquote, fighting were caused because we were over there causing them.
Yep, actively causing them. Another thing she said, and this is another perfect example of this merit-based garbage. Mom's side came during the Holocaust. Pretty sure they weren't working. Exactly. If you're fleeing, a lot of your family, and I'm someone who's, I have family that were fleeing pogroms. That's how they came. That's why they came here. They would not have qualified under merit-based because, they weren't making a good income when they were fleeing genocide. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, and it's disguised as merit. There is no merit in telling someone who is willing to come here and work hard that they don't make enough income adjusted for US dollars to come here. That's not merit. That's payola. That's the Libertarian Party of Texas. Get in another one, Adam.
Makes it possible for all of our families to live in safety and in peace, and we want to thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Is this like a cop thing? This is a cop thing, isn't it?
Oh,
Blonde head kid. This is a cop thing. I guarantee you. Anytime they say we guarantee we live in peace and safety, it is definitely someone whose job it is to victimize you.
We have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
kept him waiting for an hour and a half.
World Police. Yeah. No, they have been waiting for a while. So I was close. It was World Police. Yeah. No, this is, and everyone, I guarantee you everyone's standing and applauding. Oh, look, right next to Juan Guaido. This is I don't want to become one of these people that says, it's reptilians running things with rape stations in Mars, but look at this. Juan Guaido overlooking someone who's probably going to have to go invade his country to kill a bunch of people because they're aligned with the wrong socialist. Our campaign is going to be...
So Rush Limbaugh just signed a new 4-year contract. And assuming that he pulls through on his lung cancer,
right,
there's a good chance that sometime in the next 4 years, he is going to be talking crap about Juan Guaido, who he is 4 people away from.
Oh, easily. Yeah, because as soon as Maduro gets deposed and replaced with this guy, all the exact same stuff's going to be happening. He is a down-the-line state socialist. He is no different than Maduro. The only difference between him is he's friendly to the U.S., at least for now, because we see what happens We see what happens all the time when people are friendly to the U.S. until they get installed, and now they're just the same as everyone else that was in there. But the other big difference is he's part of another faction within the socialist parties. He's not a Bolivarian. He's not part of the Bolivarian Revolution or whatever. He is absolutely a socialist down the line. The only difference between him and Maduro is he's not in power. That's it.
As the world bears witness tonight, America is a land of heroes. This is a place where greatness is born, where destinies are forged, and where legends come to life. This is the home of Thomas Edison and Teddy Roosevelt.
Why would you name someone who robbed?
Washington,
He just named someone who robbed everyone else of their discoveries.
This is the home of Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman, the Wright brothers.
You would have called Harriet Tubman an illegal immigrant. You would have called her a criminal alien because she was not an American citizen.
Davy Crockett.
And she was breaking my laws.
This is the place where the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth.
If there's anything that authoritarian politicians like, it's dead people of color that they would have victimized if they had been alive during the same time, that they can grandstand on.
The beautiful, beautiful Alamo. The American nation was carved out of the vast frontier by the toughest, strongest, fiercest, and most determined.
Shout out to LP Texas.
Ever to walk on the face of the earth. Our ancestors braved the unknown, tamed the wilderness, settled the Wild West, lifted millions from poverty, disease, and hunger, vanquished tyranny and fascism, ushered the world to new heights of science and medicine, laid down the railroads, dug out the canals, raised up the skyscrapers, and ladies and gentlemen, our ancestors built the most exceptional republic ever to exist in all of human history, and we are making it greater than ever before.
And again, for those who feel the same way that the people on the right side of the aisle there feel, understand that if this were a Democrat saying this, they'd be cheering just as loudly. They don't like the side that's saying that. Right. They only stand when it's time to push for real hard jingoism that no one can oppose.
Magnificent inheritance. We are Americans. We are pioneers. We are the pathfinders. We settled the new world. We built the modern world.
Well, the path better be legal, though.
Forever by embracing the eternal truth that everyone is made equal by the hand of Almighty God.
There are many people who don't believe that. So now, if you don't believe in God, you've just had that faith imposed upon you by being told that all Americans believe in one. In case you didn't.
America is the place where anything can happen. America is the place where anyone can rise. And here, on this land, on this soil, on this continent, the most incredible dreams come true. This nation is our canvas, and this country is our masterpiece. We look at tomorrow and see unlimited frontiers just waiting to be explored. Our brightest discoveries are not yet known. Our most thrilling stories are not yet told. Our grandest journeys are not yet made. The American age, the American epic, the American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
I don't have words.
Well,
right now I don't have words.
Mark Watson over on Float says that we need to do the response video to this instead of the Democrats.
Gosh, I mean, we've been doing the response the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did it the entire time.
I mean, that was a combination of skewed statistics, outright lies, demonization of people, just naked symbolic jingoism.
Sad calls to emotion. Sad calls to emotion.
Yeah, serious plays to people's heartstrings.
Yeah.
Because who wants to be the bad guy to say, hey, it's terrible your husband got killed. Guess what he was over there doing?
Mm-hmm.
Over there, where they live.
Right.
He was out on patrol in someone else's neighborhood because their previous government wasn't part of the U.S. Fed petrodollar central banking system. Oops. Oh, and coincidentally, neither is Venezuela's and Iran's. Oops. It is a play. I was a neocon, so I know all the words. Oh, man, you're right. If he had done that, I would have. King said Trump forgot to mention that Epstein didn't kill himself. That would have been epic if he had done that. I would have given him props.
Oh, God, if he had done that.
If he had said Epstein didn't kill himself. Of course, it's his government that was, it's his administration that was, watching him. So it would have been a self goal, or an own goal, but still. I'd have liked that.
So he didn't bring up impeachment.
How?
Because...
How do you not... I'm going to get acquitted tomorrow.
One, he hasn't been acquitted yet. Could you imagine coming out there and doing that, and then for whatever reason, you don't get acquitted tomorrow?
Except we know, and you're right, if it were the least bit close...
And we know it's a slam dunk, but man, that may have pissed off two people just enough.
I don't know, but that's still not enough. If you had pissed everyone off by saying, I'm about to be acquitted tomorrow, they did all this nonsense, they already said they didn't even want to hear any more witnesses, it's all a witch hunt, and I'm about to get acquitted, and everyone's freaking losing their minds, and then he gets acquitted. That would be, you want to see your political opponent's heads explode and then become apoplectic and unable to, and completely alienate middle of the road voters by just being like, if it were me, because let's face it, guys, when Vermin's going to get impeached, we're going to get impeached.
Almost immediately.
But if there will be clarification done in the House of Representatives from the parliamentarian asking if they have to act miracle of science and nature, we were able to know that we were going to get acquitted. I would schedule special press conferences in children's hospitals to talk about it. And I'd have the kids get up and sing songs of joy and mirth about how I was going to get acquitted. Probably not children's hospitals.
Kingsley asks if they're going to use the cool new Shadow app to impeach you.
If they do, then I'm not worried about it because they'll end up accidentally impeaching Pete Buttigieg. That is, let's just quick. This is a giant FU.
Oh, let's do a quick check while we're here.
Oh yeah. Let's see the update.
Together. To our 5 followers over on Float right now, thank you all.
Absolutely.
Definitely appreciate all of you over there. God, that's like getting 1,000 over on Facebook.
Alex Janikowski says that part of the Donald Trump constantly saying perfect is like pure gaslighting. Like it's if you keep repeating something, people start to internalize it as being true. When you keep saying everything's perfect, it's like, oh, well, maybe it is really good. Maybe it is perfect. Any update?
Hang on a second. I'm looking for a site I like, which That's weird. Yesterday they were like my number one site when I would do this.
Oh, no.
According to Google, still at 62%. Still at 62%. We are now 26 hours, 26 and a half hours since the election ended.
Do you know what they're going to do? I just realized what they're going to do. They have painstakingly only counted enough to get Pete Buttigieg the eke out victory. Like they're, okay, don't count this one, count this one, don't count this one, count this one, to make it that way. And then like probably sometime after New Hampshire, they'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, Bernie run it.
Is New Hampshire next week?
New Hampshire's next week. I'm going to be there next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So sometime like long from now, maybe even after South Carolina, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Bernie won, and I forgot to tell you, Bernie won.
I don't think they say it.
What's that?
They won't say it. They won't.
Or they'll just never say it. They'll be like, well, it's whatever.
Right.
Because there's not even that many delegates that they have. It's just the whole first in the nation.
Right. Well, not anymore.
Probably not. I can't see how they would let them have first in the nation after that. That was insane.
Okay, so think about. I was talking about this last night with somebody. If you're the Republicans, how pissed off are you? They didn't screw up. They had everything counted by 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Right.
They were done. They were at home having a beer. Like,
yeah.
How pissed off are you that the Democrats lost that for you if you're the Republicans? That I would be livid.
I would be very upset.
Not that it even matters that they're first. It's just you've been first forever. And you
right,
guys
like you've taken our thing. You've taken our thing for the whole state because you suck so much.
Right.
Because the appetite was already high to end the whole caucus system and Iowa being first and all that to begin with. It is a throwback to a really like, a pastoral, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like a really weird throwback, archaic thing that really has no place. This totally underscored that. Breaking news, Matt. Breaking news. With 100% of precincts in the Iowa caucuses, Jeb Bush runs away with all the delegates. Completely runs the deck for the Iowa caucuses. Brought to you by the Shadow app. Jeb Bush. Shadow app Bush.
The Shadow app for much more than Pete Buttigieg spent.
Big shout out to Shadow app. Jeb Bush, our new president, as of tomorrow.
He's taken over.
He's taken over everything. He won so commandingly. Because that's also the Republican results there too.
Right,
every single person in Iowa, Jeb Bush. He's now the president.
He is now the president.
That's why they went ahead and gave Rush Limbaugh the Medal of Honor tonight, knowing that Donald Trump would be deposed starting at 12:01. Jeb Bush, our new commander-in-chief and head of state. So speaking of Rush Limbaugh, Matt,
as we all learned yesterday or today, he has announced that he has advanced lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to preface everything that we say after this with, we don't agree with Rush on everything.
Nope.
There's a lot of things we do not
Most
agree
things we disagree with Rush on, yeah.
However, the only reason this show exists is because when I was 13 years old, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I did that up until I stopped being a Republican. I still listen to him on occasion just because, whatever. But now I get to argue with my radio in traffic, which is more fun. Instead of just nodding my head going, yes,
yes,
Rush.
Ditto, yes, ditto. Yeah.
Ditto. Mega dittos, Rush.
Mega dittos, Rush.
But because of him, this show exists. There's nothing else to say about it. So we wanted to wish him well.
Of course.
Never rooting for somebody to
Die of cancer.
Die.
We don't wish people's deaths on here. We disagree with Rush far more than we agree with him, but I don't want someone to die of cancer, and we wish him a speedy recovery, and we hope that maybe he rethinks some of the things that he thinks in this time. But
as he says on his show, in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers, which means pretty sure we know where the lung cancer came from.
Yeah, I mean, he has been a long-time proponent of saying that smoking's not as bad for you as they say.
Well, I mean, he quit smoking years ago. He smokes cigars still. But if you don't inhale them.
But, it's not like you're in a room filled with smoke or anything. So,
true.
Yeah.
However, not everybody is wishing him well.
Yeah.
Here are a couple
you can read some of the ones that we have, and then I'll show these ones as well.
Okay. Sample of some tweets celebrating this news. He literally has encouraged right-wing politicians to harm people, deprive health care, imprison innocent children, and let people die. Lives will be saved when he is gone. Couldn't have happened to a better person, I guess. Since he is a cancer to society, life is imitating art here.
Mm-hmm.
Karma. God works in mysterious ways.
Oh, we believe in God now. Okay.
Right. Yeah. No. Such a painful disease, the suffering he will experience, the anguish of facing death after his despicable life will be a burden so heavy it will destroy his soul. I'm sorry anyone has cancer. I won't be sorry to have someone who lies off the airwaves. I never wished a man dead, but I've read some obituaries with great pleasure. Your time has come, you vicious racist POS. That's what it says. I am not abbreviating.
Right.
Does that mean he will stop spreading hatred toward minorities from now on? Then that's okay. I wish I didn't have to laugh my ass off at this. Good riddance. And those were just from regular Twitter users. Here are a few...
so Nick Ciarelli says, seeing a lot of tasteless tweets about Rush Limbaugh. No one should have to suffer through lung cancer. Wishing him a speedy recovery and that he uses his vast influence to promote affordable health coverage for everyone. I am saying all of this as I put a pillow over his face. Nick Jack Pappas, blue check mark, says, I am so sorry for lung cancer. No one deserves Rush Limbaugh. I wish him the best medical care he's worked on denying to others. The Rude Pundit says, yeah, no, the high road is for losers. F you, Rush Limbaugh. F you in hell. Now, guys, putting aside the fact that most of these people probably couldn't name 10 positions that Rush Limbaugh even has, more than likely. Maybe some of those...
never actually listened to him and know any quote in context.
Probably know almost nothing about him, unless they've been reading about him today or yesterday. This is what bipartisan team politics gets you. Because most of these people, if it were a Democrat, for example, Joe Biden, who is similar, they would be saying, oh, well, I don't agree with him on everything, but no one wants cancer. And Republicans would be having a freaking field day. I remember how Republicans acted when they heard that John Lewis had cancer. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
I remember how Republicans acted when John McCain had cancer. And he was
a Republican. Yeah. But Donald Trump didn't like him.
Yep.
And that's what matters now. So this is just like this terrible look, guys. Like, I mean, like it's
You're
not
gonna see the Republicans the moment Ruth Bader Ginsburg goes back in the hospital.
Oh my God. And that's what so this is not the left, there goes there's the so-called tolerant left. This is how, I'm not sure who I was trying to impersonate there, but this
it kind of is. This is the so-called tolerant left. I can't do that voice you just did, but it is. But Republicans are no different.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and this is a bad look for everybody.
This is just bad. Because again, I saw on Tariq Nasheed, he posted, a GIF whatever, of people dancing.
This is
talking
a GIF show. This is not a GIF show.
A GIF. No, you're right, because we don't Joe to the store to, yeah. So
Giraffe me.
yeah. So anyway, so we so I saw Tariq Nasheed celebrating that Rush Limbaugh had cancer. And then I saw a bunch of people reacting to it. Well, when this person, I'm going to be happy when Colin Kaepernick gets cancer. Or I was happy when John Lewis got cancer. I was happy when this person get cancer. I was happy when MLK got shot. There's just a lot of ugliness. And the fact is, guys, most of the politicians that you support are all friends and they agree with each other and they clap for people that commit murder and they clap for terrible politicians that are going to introduce a U.S. Fed petrodollar central bank to their government. And I mean, they are Nancy Pelosi in her resistance against Trump when she's not passing every single bit of his legislation in the House. It's all garbage. So for you to hate each other on a visceral level over this stuff, when the reality is the people you are supporting completely work together almost 99% of the time. Now, again, Rush Limbaugh, I disagree with him on an impressive amount of things, as does Matt. This is not about that. And I can even talk. Go ahead.
Again, I will say, I have an autographed picture of him, a personalized autographed picture of him on the wall right there. I got it for my 16th birthday, and it was one of the greatest gifts I've ever received, and I still have it.
Yep.
I have been a Rush Limbaugh fan since I was 13, and I'm going to tell you that's more years ago than you think it is.
It's a lot of years ago. For almost half of his life.
At least half of my life. And now, I don't agree with him on everything. I still enjoy his show because he is an entertainer. That is what he does. It's like us, except we do it with more accuracy.
And less smoke. Well, I mean, vape is... We do it with vape and...
We do it with vape.
Jew air.
But we, to the best of our knowledge, have not cheered the diagnosis of anybody.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, not that I can recall. We may have made some Ruth Bader Ginsburg jokes when she hadn't shown up for a long time, and we were saying, is she still alive or not?
Yeah, but honestly, even that was more... that wasn't like celebrating that she might be dead. It was more just joking about how, are we going to see Ruth Bader Ginsburg again? Or are we just, it was like that. It was joking about the fact that it was like, where's Ruth Bader Ginsburg? It's been a few months now.
But we have not, we don't cheer for anybody who's potentially going to die. We don't cheer anybody getting any sort of terrible diseases, and we don't cheer any death, because that is classless and morally reprehensible. Right. I'm not going to tell you what morals you should live your life by, but if you're cheering for somebody who's about to die, take a look at yourself. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I don't care if you're a Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, Green Party, or anarchist, anarcho-communist, whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's just putting aside how it looks, it's a question of, it's not good. Don't wish death on people. It's one thing. Okay, if Rush Limbaugh was out, I don't know, beating up a marginalized person, and the person fought back and he died in the process, I'd go, well, he probably shouldn't have done that. And again, we talk about I don't want cops to get shot. If they get shot, then what were they doing to get shot? What happened before the camera started rolling? When I hear about veteran or troops dying overseas, I go, that's terrible. They need to come back, because I don't want them to continue being in a situation where people are having to defend themselves against them and then they get killed. I'm not happy they're dead. And that's a key difference. Like, and in the system that we have, where so many people have at least a part in participating, whether voluntarily or under duress, there's a lot of blame to go around. And I just am not going to get into this like, well, this person said this. Well, a lot of people said a lot of things. And you don't wish death by cancer, or you don't get happy that someone has cancer because Rush Limbaugh's a Republican. Like, enough. So, anyway, that's what we have to say about it. Again, we are not a Republican-friendly show. We are not, which is weird because we have a lot of Republican followers. But we're this is not a Republican, liberty-leaning conservative or Like, we are, hardcore libertarians, and we disagree with Rush probably more often than we disagree with him more often than we'd agree with him. Even with Matt's long history with him, we still disagree with him on a lot of things. I hope he recovers, and I hope he rethinks some of his thoughts about stuff. But that's regardless. But I hope he recovers. Like, this life is too short to be wanting people to die. It really is. Like, if we're doing this, it's for harm reduction, and part of harm reduction is rethinking how we look at our fellow human beings, in my opinion. Even ones we vociferously disagree with. And that is the third time I have used the word vociferously tonight.
That's nothing compared to jingoism.
But it is. It really is jingoism.
I get it, but man, you use that word so much tonight.
It just is.
Sarah Brandon says, I've literally seen people forgive the serial killer that killed their kid, and these people are mad because he said some stuff they don't like.
Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I mean, I get he has said some things that encourage marginalization of people and all that stuff. What I'm telling you is that part of harm reduction is ending this cycle of vindictiveness. If someone is directly harming you, that's one thing, but he said a thing that is bad, so he should die, you're not going to get what you want. You're not going to, that kind of thought process about people, especially when, the vast majority of people think in an authoritarian way in one way or another, wishing that on people or being happy when bad things happen to people who have those kind of mindsets, you're not going to be building the kind of world that I believe you when you say you want, but your actions might not be demonstrating that. And for someone looking from the outside, that, we're trying to build this voluntary society where people interact more peacefully, and they see you wishing death on people and celebrating people's deaths all the time, makes you look a little less empathetic than, you may have been portraying yourself as. I'm not. I know that there are people that I have tremendous respect for who completely disagree with me on this, and I respect your opinion on it. I think, again, if we are supporting harm reduction, part of harm reduction is completely rethinking how we look at our fellow humans, including the ones who are, often a big part of the problem. Jingoism. So what's that?
So, Spike,
Hey.
Today was Tuesday.
Yes.
Sarah Brandon, what do we think Pelosi ripped up? That was a copy of Trump's speech.
She ripped it up?
Yeah. Yeah, she tore it up at the end.
That's funny. That is funny. It's petty, too, and I like that. I like petty.
Yeah, no, massively petty.
That's really petty. Like, I don't need this anymore. Or throw that in the trash.
Well, I think it was an accident. She was going through DTs from not having alcohol for 2.5 hours. So it just happened.
Either way, I love it.
Right.
So no, I'm not having an episode of my show tomorrow, because I am preparing to leave town for a very, very, very long time, like almost all month. I'm going to go ahead.
Are we doing a show next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Am I
Actually, Do you want to do a show Wednesday?
Sure.
Because Tuesday I'm going to be doing the primary shenanigans with Vermin. So I'm going to be going on my East Coast tour up through Baltimore into New York City, where I have some exciting news in New York. Can't tell you yet, but I've got some exciting news in New York. Oh yeah, and can't tell anyone yet. And then gonna be in New Hampshire for the New Hampshire primaries. We're gonna be trolling around in our bus that's bigger than anyone else's bus for the Team Supreme Vermin Spike ticket. We're also gonna have ponies, pony petting zoo, pony rides. I'm going to try to get Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders to ride our ponies, or at least pet our ponies. And then I will be back very briefly in South Carolina to do a door-knocking, pound the pavement tour in Florence. Then I'll be hop, skipping, and jumping over to Orlando, beautiful sunny Orlando, for the Libertarian Party of Florida convention, where I will be reuniting with the lovely and talented Mr. Matt Wright.
That's right.
And then
lovely and talented Mr. Joshua Smith.
And Joshy Bear Smith is going to be there too. Joshy Bear Smith.
Where I'll
in
be
the house
reuniting with him, and you'll be reuniting with him.
I'll be reuniting with him and then reuniting with you. I put too many re's in there for you. It's reuniting. Because the first time was uniting, and then it became reuniting, and now it'll be reuniting. Reuniting. So and then I have some other stuff planned after that, but that's like a month from now, so I'm not going to bother. Right. But yeah, big news out of New York City.
Anybody, I think that we agreed that we're going to do this, so I'm just going to say it now. Okay. For Super Tuesday, we will be doing a
Super Tuesday special.
We'll be doing a live Super Tuesday special talking about everything as it's coming in, and you will get us for exactly 4 hours and 8 minutes or so.
Brought to you for exactly as long as it lets us. Brought to you by Shadow.
Probably won't kick us off.
Super Tuesday brought to you by Shadow. I hope not. Actually, I hope so, because the bigger of a mess they can make this, the better it is for me and Vermin. So, guys, yeah. So, big news. We're going to have a lot of fun this week. So, tune in for whenever that happens. Yep. Matt, if someone were looking for us on the... What's that?
Nothing. I've had to pee since like halfway through that.
Oh no, Matt. If internet, where are we on the internet?
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom. You can find us on Float at float.app, flote.app/Muddied Waters Media. Did I say Muddied Waters of Freedom for the first one? Facebook.com/Muddied Waters Media, float.app/Muddied Waters Media, YouTube.com/Muddied Waters Media, Instagram at Muddied Waters Media, on Twitter at Muddied_Waters, on Anchor at
Please
Anchor.
Write this down.
It's written down. It's in the notes. I had to switch out.
Okay.
In Anchor at anchor.fm/Muddied Waters. And you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Like us, follow us, 5-star us, share us, do everything with us. Matt has to pee. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Staying put, not making sense. Yeah, I've been living in the previous tense. Why won't you help me move on? I can't look, can't make amends. Yeah, it's so sad we're not even friends, but we've been going so long. Give me back the conversation. I'm sorry I lost my patience. No, I just can't catch a break. Yeah, I'm always late, yet still always waiting. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. having fun hitting that bananagram. I love just wasting my time. Wasting my time, oh my gosh. Hating it, checking my Instagram. No, it won't turn me to a better man. I know it's killing my vibe. Who am I to you? My words just seem inefficient. I'm scared of the recognition. I'm sorry, it's you I'm missing. To tell the truth, I can't make it different. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Suddenly I can see the world as it's supposed to be, and the pain inside my heart has left my chest. Honestly, we can be anyone we wanna be, and the world can put our worry down to rest. But I can't find another broken light to bright my life up. No, I can't hold another broken soul to know it's over. No, it's not over.
You are so cool.
Yeah. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Forget myself when I go round. I lost my feet, said I love you. Too bad that dreams don't just come true. Yeah. Oh, how I love when I slow down. Kicking my banana pants. Forget myself when I go round. Who am I to you? I lost my feet, said I love you. Maybe I do. Too bad that dreams don't just come